Okay, Angela, this is fun because this is a podcast that can be watched and or listened to. So it's so good to see you.
You know why else it's fun?
Why?
It's Saturday and we're at home and we are resting and we are
Yeah.
having fun conversation.
Yes.
I think you said earlier, like it's 9 o'clock and we can't get motivated. And normally by 9 o'clock, we would have done 12 things. And my one big thing to do was, Fran, tell me to get out of bed. I laid there for 2 hours. I had no desire to get out of bed.
Oh, it's so crazy how you do get up and you go all week long, 110 miles an hour. And then the weekend comes and you're just like done.
Mhm.
But I think that's a good sign. I think that that
Mhm.
just says, that you've lived a lot of life and you've done good, hard things this week. So anyway, bravo to us.
Work hard, play hard, rest hard.
Yes.
It's
All
the other Trinity. Do
That's
those
right.
things.
Okay, so today we are talking about really, I think it's an extension of what we did Tuesday night together with some of my students. So I'll briefly explain the context and then we'll just jump right on in. So a couple of years ago, oh, and look, if you're watching, there's Miss Bella.
How old
Right?
is she now?
Bella is she was born in October, so she's not even 2. She's 1.5. She's
April is her half birthday because October is my half birthday.
Well, there you go.
Happy half birthday. She's like our little podcast pup.
Our little mascot.
Our little mascot.
So I've got somebody here working on the garbage disposal. That's so just ridiculous that we have to do those things. And so
maybe he'll overhear us and learn something, Fran.
Well, I've got us all trapped in my office. So 2 dogs and myself. Nobody bark, nobody do anything. Okay. So a couple of years ago, Katie Hathaway, and Katie's been on the podcast before. She and I began something through my work at Union in the admissions office, and it's called Leadership Union Student Edition. And I believe that every single person, but especially in the context of my work and my work with college students, I believe that every single college student is a leader. It just depends to what degree are you leading? Are you willing to lead? And just that recognition of you've got people up close that are learning from you, whether you like it or not, realize it or not, but you've also got people farther away that are just observing your life and you're leading them in some way. So Katie and I developed this also just a passion and a burden for it, but also I had participated in something very similar at Union as a staff member. So anyway, we meet 4 times a year. And the students, I feel like it's kind of fancy and it's in an environment. It's in our president's executive conference room. We feed them a meal because we all know the importance of sitting around a table and sharing a meal together. But we meet 4 times a year, 2 times in the fall, 2 times in the spring, and they have an opportunity to learn from different types of leaders, different leaders of different backgrounds, because I think that it's just important. I mean, nobody taught me these things until really I went through this program at Union. You just kind of, I think, pick things up along the way from people that you admire and respect. But when it comes to here's some practical tools to put in your toolbox for now and for later. So they have this fun, handy dandy notebook that they can keep all their stuff in. So this past Tuesday night, I mean, good grief, duh. Why would I not ask you, Angela Snyder, to be one of the speakers? And so I wanted you to come speak to them because you have a whole lot going on. You have a lot on your plate that I think really, honestly, you manage very well. And a lot of leaders have high capacity. They're able to do that. And so just with your wisdom and your experience and all the things that you're involved in. Of course, I wanted you to speak into that, but just also practical things that you do that make you successful as a person, and then of course as a believer. So we're just going to talk about all that again today. So it's kind of like an extension of this past Tuesday night that we got to have with the students.
I loved it. It was so much fun. And it was so fun because I know your heart and your passion for that group of students each year. And to sit there in front of their sweet smiling faces and get to put, faces and names and just to see how individually unique and, all the different majors and to see this is our next generation. And you and I believe so strongly in that age group. We love them. We champion them every chance we get, but it was so sweet and tender and personal to look in their eyes and say, we believe in you. We love you. We are cheering you on, but here's what we wish we had known at the ages that you are.
Amen. Listen, whenever I get discouraged or just feel overwhelmed by adults and just the condition of the world and just life, I'm reminded of things like Tuesday night, and both of us have an opportunity to have really good, rich conversation with college students. And so you feel like there's hope in this world. And the next generation really is intelligent. They are spiritually strong, but yet also very humble and teachable. It's just a beautiful thing. So anyway, you're going to lead us through all the things, or not all the things, but the things that you want to cover for this particular podcast. And I think this is just beneficial stuff for everybody, regardless of their age or how long they've walked with the Lord.
I think so. And just real quick before we jump in, if you were listening and you don't have a college age person in your life, connect with one or two or 12. They are desperate for older people to guide them, pour into them, have coffee with them. Don't believe the lie that you're too old, irrelevant, not cool. They wouldn't want to hang out with you. They need us, and they are actively trying to find people just to hang out with them and encourage them and help them along, just the way that we're going to talk about in this conversation. So absolutely. I did want to point that out.
Get plugged into a college ministry or college something, anything, anywhere, do that.
A local college. Yeah, they're out there and they need us. Okay. So what we did, and I'll just kind of hit some of the highlights of the 5 things that I wanted to share with them. But I just wanted them to understand that you have to decide right now, before you get out there, how you want your life to go. And that sounds overwhelming and scary. And that doesn't mean you have to pick a major, pick a career at 18, 19, 20 years old and never waver from that. But in broad strokes, you have to have some type of a game plan. And then you have to keep coming back to that and stay focused on it. And it all goes back to John 10:10, and that's where we started with them. We have an enemy that wants to take us out. He's come to steal and kill and destroy, but we have Jesus as believers, and we know he gives us abundance, and that abundant life starts here and now. It's not one day far off in heaven. So it's also there, but also here. And the devil has just all throughout my life, especially until I became intentional for this, he will always come after us. But I can see patterns in younger me, because I was not actively following this type of plan, where he just tried to take me out, whether it was through my behavior, whether it was making me so numb and stressed out that I just missed all the goodness around me, including, moments with my kids when they were little. And I was just too numbed out, stressed out, and didn't even enjoy being on a field trip because I was checking my email in the bathroom. What's wrong with that? What is wrong with, we think the world is going to fall apart if we're not constantly accessible 24/7. And that's insane.
Angela, this would probably cause you intense anxiety. I'm going to pause for just a second and tell you that our beloved friend, Mallory Lamb, who's been on the podcast before, she posted something this morning.
I saw it. Please talk about it. I liked it.
She posted that we need to take our work email off of our phones. Okay. Oh my gosh. I agree 100% that we are a slave to everything on our phone, whether it's email or apps and social media. whatever. But I just thought, oh, that's going to cause people to flip out if they did not have their work email or just turned it off, from Friday at 5 to Monday morning at 8 o'clock. Just don't get the notifications, but you'd still go check it.
Well, here's what I do, because I kind of hacked the system. I've turned off my notifications on my email, but that does not mean I never check it. It's been off for a long time, but I
Yeah.
still am compulsive about
Right.
checking it. So what I've done on the first screen of my apps, I have things like my Bible app, Jesus Calling, my just anything that's inspiring and motivational and easy for my brain. Because part of my OCD, like if I grab my phone just mindlessly, I don't want Facebook, Instagram, or work email to be the first thing that I grab.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to let it be a Bible verse, or let it be. I need just the big word like stop. I need just a big stop sign to go, oh, wait, put it down.
Don't swipe to the next page.
Do not go further. So Kaylee actually taught me this. She has to swipe 5 times to get to her social media apps. And sometimes she just takes them off her phone. And my social media and my email for work is on my phone, but I have to work to get to it. And my brain is starting to learn, let that be a speed bump. Like, don't do it.
Okay. Anyway,
it's hard. We have to fight for this. And it's like we told them, life doesn't get calmer as it goes on. We have to fight to guard and protect all the ways that God made you awesome, the way he made me awesome, the way he gifted all of us. Yeah. That is how he wants to use us. And the devil comes at all of that unique, beautiful stuff that's in us, and just in one swoop can wipe it all out if we let him.
If we let him. And it's really, if I were to pick a word of the year, which I'm not going to, it would be just such intentionality or discipline or self-control, or I don't know. Yeah, focus. Good grief. We got a long ways to go. Okay. All right. Keep going. You're doing such a great job. So good.
Well, I wanted to give them 5 things because I could give them 5 million things, and that gets to be a lot. So the first thing I gave them is be careful whose voice you listen to. Right. You could just stop right there. But, and it sounds so obvious, start with the Lord, let his voice be the loudest. But whenever I have trouble in my life, without fail, I can go back to the fact that I didn't start with the Lord. I started by grabbing my phone and getting on my email, and my brain took off like a runaway train. And then I'm angry, and it's 6:30 in the morning and I haven't left my bedroom yet, and I'm mad. Right. I've not had coffee. I've not had Jesus. I'm already thinking about people, and I'm just irritated, and my whole day goes off the rails. Yeah. I have chosen to invite that into my life when that is what happens. So beginning first thing in the morning, it does not have to be, I wish I could spend an hour first thing in the morning. Most of the day, I don't have that. I have just enough time. I have a verse on my wall by design. When my eyes open, I see it. It is a verse to set my mind on the day. And then the Jesus Calling app is on my phone. I do follow a Bible reading plan, not perfectly, but I try to have that structure. I have some structured time for prayer because I have to get my brain. I just can't, my brain will wander if I don't give it just some loose structure. So I have a worksheet that kind of outlines the categories of who I want to pray for. I get at least one verse in my brain. And if my Bible plan is, in Judges or something crazy that's hard for me to really have something to apply, I at least try to leave with one verse. And no matter what the day brings, sometimes I just have to sit in the car for 5 minutes and let that verse roll around in my head and go, okay, we're just going to breathe really deeply and think about this verse and hit the reset button.
Yeah. Well, and this is all throughout the day. This is all day long. So, but it starts there. And the discipline of whose voice are you listening to? Granted, let me pause and say this too. I know with college students and a lot of people, not just college students, first thing in the morning is just hard.
Yes.
And I get that completely. So I don't want it to sound legalistic, but I think the overall message is throughout the day, make sure that your default is going to the Lord in prayer or being mindful of scripture, but then also at a time during the day when it works best for you, that you spend dedicated, devoted time in all those areas you just said.
That's right. And I, on my Wednesdays with the volleyball team, we've talked about that a lot. And for a lot of them, before bedtime is an easier time for Bible study.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, even if it's one verse, if it's just the word Jesus, say his name, but something first thing in the morning, I laugh with Kaylee. I'm like, you can sit on the toilet and read Jesus Calling. It takes you 2 minutes.
Right.
Get that in your brain. Get anything in your brain before. Don't let people be the first voice that you hear. Let that be. If I did that, you would never want to be around me. Right. So start with Jesus.
Yes.
And then the other thing I told them is that, because God made each of us special and awesome and have all these gifts and talents, we are going to be approached by other people with their hopes and dreams and what they desire us to sign up for, where they want us to lead, plug us in. Sometimes it's because they just don't want to do it. Somebody asked them to keep the nursery and they don't want to. So they've decided you're the perfect person for that job. You cannot say yes to all the people all the time, or even any of the time, without pausing and really thinking about the commitment involved. And then talk to the Lord about it. Make sure that it's the right season, that you've got the right time to give. And then having just some people, I have you, I have my husband. If anybody asks me to do anything, I try to pause, pray about it, and ask y'all and say, hey, you know me, you know what's going on in my life. What do you think about this? Before I give a yes. And what's really funny is after I spoke on Tuesday to them about that, I had somebody text me the next day that I had not talked to in years. And he said, hey, I've been thinking, I've got an idea. You'd be really good at this. And then he went on to outline this. And I'm like, okay, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is just kind of humorous at this point, because younger me would have said, oh, how flattering. He thinks I'm perfect for this. Let me go do this thing because he said so. And it was so funny and easy to just say, I'm sorry. Thank you for thinking of me, but no.
Well, and as people pleasers and just love to say yes to all the things, it is hard to say no. And so for me, I'm not necessarily a people pleaser, but I love the excitement of something new. And yes, let's go do that. And so I've had to learn how to just pause and say, is this really of benefit to me and going to be honestly helpful instead of just exciting?
It's hard. It's an ongoing thing. Proverbs 19:21 says, we have many plans in our heart, but only God's will stand. So again, when we're in that just daily talking to him, asking him, even if it's just a few minutes throughout the day at various times, I've just really tried to run everything through. Okay, Lord, tell me about this. What do you think about this? And he'll make our way clear.
Absolutely. Such good stuff. Okay. Number two,
you have to reset and regroup and reevaluate periodically everything in your life. When I get on autopilot and start coasting and just assuming that the next day, week, month, year is going to look like it did before, that is easy for me to do because I am so busy. But the best form of self-care for me is to have these regular meetings with myself and be very intentional, be very aware, focus my mind. Again, I'm a 3 on the Enneagram. I'm very OCD. I'm very structured, and I have to do it in a way that would cause a lot of people stress and anxiety. So don't think that you have to do what works for me. For my husband, he would never write things down on paper, but he likes to go walk through the woods for 2 or 3 hours and just let his mind rest and have a conversation with the Lord and think about, just in his mind, what's working, what's not working, what do I want to do next? Yeah. But it's like cleaning out the closet, or, this time of year, I'm cleaning out my closet going, what are my spring clothes and what do I want to keep and what do I want to get rid of? And I think it's so important. Every day I try to just focus my mind on small things, but with every new season, that's easy for me. So spring, summer, winter, and fall, what's going on in my home life? What's going on in my work life? What's going on? Fran, you and I have ministry and Bible studies and podcast, and what's working, what's not working. Have new people come into my life. Is it time to let some things go that I've been involved in? It's just a really good way, I think, to just constantly have, just at some point, a way to do that. And then every year, I love that last week of December. I call it December Dream Week. And I just stay in pajamas all week if I can. And just really lay out my year before the Lord, not in an overwhelming way, but just, you don't like the one word. I love the one word. People can leave it or take it or love it or hate it, whatever. That doesn't matter. But it's just the idea of going into a new year with intention and how am I growing? How is the Lord using my gifts? And am I getting in the way of that? Are there, for this year, for me, I realized there's some things I want to change in my work life. And it's scary to me because I'm leaving behind the sure thing that's always made me money and stepping into some areas that I'm excited about. But transitions are just, there's fear. There's, uncertainty and having to really work to build something new, but I can't let that hold me back. And if I didn't get intentional about it, I think I'd just get scared and not do it.
Well, we are such creatures of habit that we just go and do the same thing all the time. And I think evaluating and examining who you are from a personal standpoint, a professional standpoint, I think that, looking at that, and who you are becoming and how are you going to get there sounds great in theory, but it's just, I don't know how to do this or when to calendar this or examine this. And so therefore you just don't, So this is good. I think it's just, like you said, from a practical standpoint, just pull out your handy dandy calendar every Sunday night, do a part of this every 3-4 months, do a part of this. In December, do a part of this and just start off baby steps, but it's important. Otherwise, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, and so have a lot of people, but if you don't do this, then you look back on a piece of your life, whether it's months or years, and you're like, it all just looks the same and runs together, and you don't see where have you stepped out in faith and done something really different, because that's what the Lord has for you, whether that's personally or professionally. And if we don't, I think we just miss things that the Lord has for us.
That's the ultimate motivation, I guess you'd say, for me in doing this, is you don't want to miss what God's doing. And I shared this verse with them, Matthew 6:33 says, seek the Lord first and foremost, and then everything else in your life will fall into place. And the awareness of God's presence in my life truly is the anxiety killer.
Absolutely.
And then I shared this Rebecca Lyons quote: in my striving, if the goal fits into God's plan for me, he will help me. If I start to hit resistance, I need to pay attention. So.
Yeah. Well, it's obedience. It's just that, do we trust the Lord? Are we surrendering our day, not just our life, but our days?
Keep talking. Somebody's at my door, but keep talking. I'll be right back.
I think it does. It just comes down to obedience. And are we surrendering our days to the Lord and what he wants for us? And I think if we're not careful, we just keep doing the same thing all the time. Okay. I'm dying to know who's at Angela's door.
Okay. Are y'all ready for this?
Who was it?
My Aunt Sylvia. I've talked about my Uncle Joe. He's in heaven now. My Aunt Sylvia raised me. She's the best in the whole wide world. She goes to Kohl's with my Aunt Raina every Saturday. Is that not the best?
Yes.
So I used my Kohl's cash to do a Kohl's pickup and forgot all about it. And they were about to cancel it. So I text her this morning and I said, are y'all going to Kohl's this morning? And you know what she sent me back? It made me laugh. She said, is the Pope Catholic? She picked up my Kohl's order. She's so precious.
That's so sweet. Okay, let's move on to number 3.
Number 3, build in time for rest and for play.
Yeah, we had some great conversation with the students about this because there are people that, listen, it's foreign to me, but that doesn't mean it's dumb. It's just the way we're all wired differently. But there are people that really struggle with rest and with play.
It's true. It's true. Both are non-negotiable. We have to rest and play as hard as we work. We keep the Sabbath not because it makes us more productive at work, but we keep the Sabbath to resist the idol of productivity. We have to
Mhm.
know we are more than what we produce. And the two commandments the Lord repeats most often are two warnings: a warning about idols and a warning about rest.
And boy,
And
golly.
it,
Yes.
it really is a game changer. And this is something you and I have talked a lot about personally throughout the year. We've got to have breaks. We are restless when we rest less. We have
Mhm.
to run fueled by a posture of rest.
Mhm.
Rest helps us reconnect with the Lord. He promises us peace when we rest. And, I think in my profession as attorneys, there's a group of, old school lawyers that used to wear it like a badge of honor. Well, I was at the office at 6 o'clock on Saturday morning, and I
Mhm.
worked on Sunday, and that just became ingrained that, like, if you wanted to prove yourself, that's how you were supposed to show up. But y'all, we are not designed for that. There's
Well, and then
nothing.
you throw in everything else that you are exhausted by, not just
Mhm.
work, but just, feeling that, if you're a social media consumer, then you just are always feeling less than, or I'm not doing, or I don't have, or I need to purchase this, or, I think just physically we're so exhausted, mentally we're so exhausted, always have been. That is nothing new, but I think just every generation experiences, another layer on top of work and family that's always been there.
Yeah.
If we don't rest our brain, for crying out loud, then our bodies, I think we've said 1,000 times, our body will keep that score.
It will. It will. And Rachel Mitchell has been on the podcast several times. She does a technology detox every Sunday. She just walks away from her phone. And there's so much wisdom in just taking breaks. Our brains can't handle, we're not robots. We've got these constant, even if it's happy, good stuff, it's just constant information coming at us. And social media is widely linked to anxiety and depression. There's no shock in that, but we have to know the world can survive without me. Put my phone down, walk away, take a break,
Yeah.
take a break. So then the other side of that is play. And this is where, we've talked before, I think on Pastor Don's episode, about how if you work with your mind, you should Sabbath with your hands.
Mhm.
And I'm really actively wanting to find a good hobby. Gardening, the idea of getting my hands in the dirt, it intimidates me. I know zero about it. I've killed every plant and every vegetable I've ever tried to grow,
Mhm.
but I want to learn. I want to learn how to do that. My husband loves to fish. There's people that love to cook or golf or whatever, but just find something fun to do. It matters.
Yeah, I really do want to. I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready, but I really do want to plant some things. Like I
We
really want
need to,
I want
Fran.
to
This is our
grow
year.
something. I really want to do it on campus so that the college students can have a part in it, whether they just, I'm talking about when I say college students, the ones that work for me, that they can just walk by and check on our little tomatoes or whatever it is we're trying to grow. Maybe, whatever, even flowers, just go check on them because yeah, I don't love, as creative as I can be, the creativity that I have is not in using my hands to paint or create anything. So it is a little intimidating.
The idea of a blank canvas and a jar of paint is something I would love to do in theory, but I shut down in fear when I think I would be grossed out by whatever I tried to create. I can't imagine painting something. Even
Yeah.
for myself, if nobody saw it, it scares me.
Yeah. Robin Newman taught me through the nonprofit that we have back in the day when we first started. And y'all have heard me talk about how going to Hobby Lobby would make me sweat that back part where it gets all crafty. And I'm like, I don't know what this stuff is. And I sure as heck don't want to use it. But here's what I know about the Lord, Angela. Whether you're talking about that or you're talking about something at work that you think, I can't do that, I'm not gifted in that area. We say that all the time. We say it all the time. That is not in my wheelhouse. Here's what I know to be true. And the Lord taught this to me through a couple of different ways. We just don't give him a shot. We shut him down and out completely, and we just don't give him a chance to not necessarily change the trajectory of what you're going to do in your life, but just growing something, cultivating something within you that's just for fun, and we just don't need to be so quick to dismiss him. So I'm talking to myself here, but it's hard.
Do you know what you just helped me connect the dots on as you were saying that though?
Okay.
Already twice in this podcast, I've confessed some fear of changing over into a new area of law practice and fear of painting. So if I played and let myself paint something and be creative and see what the Lord can do, that would probably help me address the fear in my work life.
Well, because here's the thing, Angela, here's the thing. If the Lord has called us to do anything, I mean, make a career change or pick up a dadgum paintbrush or put something in the ground and try to watch it grow, whatever the end result is, because we can't project ourselves out there with him. He knows how it's going to go, whether we're growing something or changing a piece of our career. He's teaching us something. He's teaching us something about himself and ourselves, and it's surrender, it's trust, it's obedience. And we've got to step into it with him. And so it's obvious as that sounds, it's just hard because our human flesh tendency is just to, keep doing what we've always done and afraid to make a change. And that's where we miss out on the adventures with the Lord.
We get in our own way.
All right, let's move on. Yeah. Oh, for sure. 100% of the time. Okay. Number 4. What was number 4?
You ready for this? How many times have we said it?
I know.
Stay humble,
Yep.
Stay humble and teachable. Do not get impressed with yourself. And this one really hits home with me.
Let's just go back to what we just concluded with. Don't be impressed by yourself. Because if we're not humble and teachable, that's not just to one another, that's with the Lord. And so he's like, hello, I'm trying to teach you something here and you're not letting me.
We get in our own way. Because I've been most of my life such a striver and achiever and performer, I found a lot of my worth and identity and value in those things I was doing. And again, the 2 commandments he repeats most often are warnings about idols and warnings about rest. And idolatry is seeking security or meaning in anything other than God. So there you go. We can don't get drunk off the praise like I did as a younger version of myself. I had a point in time where I was I was just so caught up in that and all the accolades I shared with your students. Like I literally went to my office and took everything off my office wall because I needed a reset. I needed to remember that my only identity was found in Christ. And when we realize that everything good in us is because he made us that way to go serve his purposes, that is a game changer. I'm not self-made.
That's right. We are not self-made.
Right.
I think that something that Dr. Dub continues to teach me, and even very recently, is that whenever somebody praises you personally or anything that you're connected to, even professionally, whenever someone praises you, our response should be, isn't the Lord good? Isn't he faithful? Isn't he good to us? Instead of, oh, thanks, there's nothing wrong with, oh, thanks, but it should be followed up with, isn't the Lord good? Redirect it off of yourself into him.
And the quicker we do that, the better.
Right.
The better for us.
Yeah.
Something else that goes along with this, and this has been difficult for me. We cannot get frustrated with people who are gifted differently than we are.
Man alive. Yes.
We've got to have ways, just like I love what Dr. Dub said to you. That is such a good way to just deflect it. And, 2 other things that have worked for me in staying humble is counting my blessings and then just go serve somebody. There's always somebody that's got it worse off than us, somebody that we need to pour into, somebody to just help us remember why we were created and who we're here to serve.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, listen, we're selfish people.
We are so selfish. We are so selfish. I told the students as I was preparing these notes, like the next day at work, I did a really good thing in court. I'll just tell y'all. Now, granted, it's because God made me awesome. But when I came back to the office, that's not what I said. I was like, y'all, here's what I did because I'm awesome. And immediately it was like, okay, hang on.
Yeah.
But it was
I
funny
know.
because I was being silly, but at the same time, I was like, okay, I know better than this.
Well, and I think just a practical discipline to build into your daily time with the Lord is, what are you thankful for? For me, I write that in my journal every morning. 3 things, just three, not four, not five, not 10, but just 3 things that you're thankful for. And we do need to have a posture of gratitude about everything, because it is all coming from the Lord. It is. And we're just also not good at that either.
It's a game changer.
Yep.
It's a game changer. Those little things become the big things that keep us focused.
That's right.
And then the teachable part of this is just never to stop learning spiritually, personally, in personal development. How are you growing with the Lord? Who's helping you get there? And then, in your career and your parenting and whatever you're doing, we need mentors. We need people ahead of us. And then we need to remember not to take them for granted. I think I just kind of assumed, with my parents, of course, that's an easy one to just assume they're going to be there a long time to ask questions. And they're not always on this earth as long as we think they will be. And then just people that have moved out of state or that I just don't encounter as often. When you have those people who are older and wiser and want to help you, really respect them and appreciate and be grateful and make time and space to have those conversations. And then on the flip side of that too, don't be dismissive of people who might be younger or less experienced than you, because we know from these college students in our lives, some of the sweetest, best lessons I've learned the last 2 years have come from people half my age.
Absolutely.
So everybody can teach us something. We need people ahead of us, behind us, and then in the same stage of life. It just makes life so much richer.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this is
okay.
Okay. Last but not least, number
5,
5.
Avoid comparison.
If
only I had learned this at 20 years old. Comparison is terrible because we either become prideful and feel better than somebody, or we get really insecure and feel less than the person we are measuring ourselves against. And social media keeps us stuck. Social media can cause us to totally miss what's good in us, what God's doing in us. It can make us try to be like somebody we were never meant to be. And of course, we're going to fail miserably trying to be something we weren't even created to be or do. So we've just got to be so mindful of that. I talked to them about my gang too. I have a girl gang.
Yes, I love this.
We have a girl gang.
This is probably, once you explain this, I think this is one of those things where if you I really sit and think about, wow, this is impressive that you have this group of people that you're doing hard stuff with, literally competing against one another, but yet you all love each other so well.
My 4 competitors that are in my peer group in family law are also 4 of my dearest, greatest, best friends, encouragers, cheerleaders. I could go on and on about that. But until a few years ago, we were so busy running full steam ahead, trying to make money and be successful and market ourselves to the world that we never saw the value in us coming together. And what we learned along the way is one of them becoming successful does not threaten my success.
That's right.
And whatever you're doing, the people around you that are in that field are not your competition. They are to some degree, but they're not going to diminish your success. We need to learn from them, celebrate them. We need to be there for them because we're not robots. We're not machines. When I have a really hard day in family law, those are usually the people that I talk to about it the most, because you would listen, my husband would listen, but these people that have experienced the same thing, they are going to get it in just such a deep way. And then they're going to have advice for me, or maybe just say, you know what, dust yourself off, come back again tomorrow. Who cares? Move on. But you just have to have those people around you that get you and can keep you going and keep you focused. And if I was just keeping them all at an arm's length, I would miss out on some of the very best encouragement and personal growth in my career. I can't say enough about that. I wish from an early age, everybody would learn to just become friends with your perceived opponents.
Yeah. Well, and Angela, you know this, and this is just a reminder for everybody, but our identity should be rooted in Christ and who he is and who we are to him. If we can learn that, continue to learn that. I don't think it's a one time you learn it and you're done. I think you just have to continue to grow in that knowledge, because the reality is, God sent his son to the earth for every human being. We are made in his image. There is enough room for everyone. Otherwise, he would have stopped, or his plan would not look the way that he does. And we know that because we hear people say things like, there is enough room for everyone at the table. There's never going to not it's not going to, like, it's just at full capacity. So there can never be any more family law attorneys ever again. There can never be this. There can never be any more of that because we've maxed out. And we know that from a logical, standpoint, but I think we just think, that there's just no benefit, or people are a threat, or there's just no use for us. And so we shrink back, or we don't allow people to come into our lives because they are a threat. We feel that we aren't like they are, and we cannot be used, and everybody is against everybody. And that's just not, that goes against the gospel. That goes against because in what he wants for us. And I think when you look at it through that lens, then you think, I am not honoring him. I'm not honoring him and trusting him with who he made me to be, with my life experiences, with my personality and my own DNA, and what he is asking me to step into. And I'm just as guilty of it. I mean, good grief. I don't look so much anymore at people as a threat. I just feel insecure. So I just don't, I don't pull people into my life, or I don't know. I think we just have to go back to, who are we and why are we here? And it all should be rooted in Christ.
Amen. Well, and then just remembering to pay it forward. We've come so far, and now I'm at a point where, there's a girl in law school that wants my help this summer, and I don't have time for that. But I remember the importance of me being in law school and getting a cold shoulder from attorneys that I needed to learn from. So I'm wide open to whatever, job shadowing she needs, because we've got to remember the people coming up behind us, and then teach them what we've learned so that maybe they can step into some of these things and grab a hold of these truths early on. And that can really be a game changer for the kingdom, not just for the law community.
Well, absolutely. We've lost our perspective.
We have. So just to summarize all this, we're all created to do something great. It's not about us. It's about the people we were called to impact, but we have to be focused and have a game plan and run our race well and get to heaven and say, I used up every ounce of what God gave me, but I did it with intentionality, and I did it well. I wasn't just burned out in the corner, ineffective because I didn't keep my focus.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. Okay. One of the girls that was in Leadership Union Student Edition this past Tuesday night with us, her name is Avery Lopez. We love Avery so very much. And she stuck around afterwards for a little bit. And we were talking about a lot of things. But one of the things that we talked about with her is that she's got this group. Avery's a senior, so she's graduating. So she's got this group of younger girls that they are reading scripture together, that they are in an accountability group together. And so I was talking to one of the girls that is a part of this, that's a freshman, and she was telling me about it yesterday. And she said that there are 3 questions that they are able to ask themselves and ask of one another. And so I think these are fantastic. And this is not number 6. I'm just going to call this, I don't know, what would we call this in the legal world? What is this?
Something we needed and we didn't have. That's what we're going to call it.
I was like, is this 5.1? Is this?
No, this is like 0 point whatever. This is baseline. Okay. Like, start here.
This is worth jotting down. Okay. So the three questions are: how have you fed your soul? How have you fed others? and how have you fed your flesh?
Oh,
And I think everything that you've talked about, number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, are going to fit into this category, into these 3 questions. And I think these are just great questions to ask of yourself, ask of your friends, ask of your children, ask of the people that you love and you're doing life with, because it's going to fall into one of these 3 things. And then you're going to be like, oh, okay, I need to make an adjustment here.
and the more often we do these things and keep that short list, the better and richer our life becomes. Don't delay it. The more often we do it, purge those
Absolutely.
awful things out.
Yeah, this is so good. Okay, well, Angela, I think that not only have you spoken into the students' lives well this past week, but now you have spoken into our podcast family well. And so I'm grateful for you and the wisdom that you have. I think we could probably add 10 more things, but we don't want to be people that feel overwhelmed. I think you just have to start somewhere. And these are 5 practical things to consider as you examine your life and who you are and who you are becoming. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
It was hard fought, hard won the hard way. And if anybody listening wants to talk about any of this further, y'all message us. We love to have these conversations.
Absolutely. Okay, everybody. Thanks so much for listening. And we appreciate you so much.